curious little monkey. Here he comes, he's always on the go. Curious George, the curious little monkey. Where's he going? We'd all like to know.
Curious George goes to the library. George, said the man with the yellow hat, I have to take some books back to the library. Why don't you come with me? They got into their little blue car and drove to the library. I'm going to the front desk, George, said the man. You can look around, but don't get into trouble. George went in, walked down the hall, and peeked into one of the rooms. Boys and girls were looking at picture books. Miss Adams, the librarian, was at her desk stamping piles of books with a rubber stamp. Miss Adams, called a library helper, you're wanted on the phone. I'll be back in a minute, children, said Miss Adams. Read your books and please be quiet. What was that thing on the desk? George was curious. He jumped up, picked up the stamp, and tried to do just what Miss Adams had done. He stamped and stamped and stamped. Look, there's George, said a girl. Hey, shouted one of the children, let's play Follow the Leader, and George will be the leader. George kept stamping. The children ran over to the desk and started to stamp books. That's fun, shouted a boy. They all cheered and made a lot of noise. Then George jumped down and leaped onto a big globe of the world. It started to spin. First slowly, then faster and faster. The children clapped and cheered again. George was giving them a good show. But all of a sudden, George lost his balance and grabbed the ring of the wall map. Down came the map, and down came George, just as Miss Adams appeared in the doorway. Oh, no, she cried. What's going on here? Stop this right away. Then she saw George. How did you get in here? I'm going to get the head librarian. George was scared. Don't worry, George, said a boy. We won't let you get into trouble. We'll help you tidy up, said a girl. The children hung up the map. George helped. He put the stamps back and straightened out the books. Look what George has found, said one of the children. It was a book about monkeys. Let's see it. George put the book on the floor and opened it. All the children gathered round him. Look, a boy cried. There's George in that book. As George turned each page, one of the children read the story of a monkey that had lived in the jungle. It was George's story. The children sat and listened. Just then, Miss Adams ran into the room, followed by the head of the library and the man with the yellow hat. Why, Miss Adams, said the head of the library, no one has ever kept the children so quiet. How did you do it? Well, said Miss Adams, George did make a lot of noise, but now he made up for it. Choose another book to take home, George, said the man with the yellow hat. We've already read that one plenty of times. George chose a book, and Miss Adams checked it out. Next time you visit us, she whispered, leave the stamping to me. All the children waved goodbye as George and his friend got in their little blue car and drove back home.